Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning. Sorry, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, but we think we've gotten it all straightened out now. Two thumbs up. We're going to give just a couple minutes for everyone to jump on, and then we're going to get started because we're late.
Not how we like to roll.
No, never. There we go. It's not updating in there.
All good. Well, I'm super excited for anybody who's jumping on right now. Jess and I had a great prep conversation yesterday, and definitely ready to pack this hour for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. Good stuff. All right, you want to get started? I'm ready.
You're the
Awesome.
boss.
Yep. So welcome everybody to another Straight Talk. And actually this topic was brought to us by you guys. A lot of people reached out to me and asked that we do a segment on business. And I reached out to one of my dearest good friends that I know has such value to bring. So not only is this gentleman co-owner of 124 Go, which is a consulting company. He's a session stylist, a past salon owner, an author, and I want to say this beautiful book, but it's an old original copy, and I happened to find it and wanted to share. And Chris has the new copy behind him, but I was like, I got to be here for this, so I'm going to share that.
I love that old cover.
Exactly. And he also has a successful podcast. So I'm really honored and grateful for him to spend this time with us today. So please give it up for Mr. Chris Sulimay, my dear friend. Hi, Chris.
Boom. Hi, Jessica. I'm thrilled. And since I can't see in real time people that are on, I just want to say thank you from wherever you're joining from. Super excited to have this conversation as well. Thanks, Jess. Thanks, Kuhn Hair Cosmetics, for being so on top of it and bringing us this live free education. I think it's just fantastic.
It's been a lot of fun to do. And, I love this topic. Today our main topic is retention. But as, Chris and you and I worked together many years. I always say that Sunny and Cher got a chance to be back together for a moment, right?
Yeah.
Is that there's a lot of factors that go into retention, many of those factors. So I wanted just for you to take a moment to kind of go through your journey with how you started as a hairdresser and now where you are today and in any manner in which you'd like to do it.
Yeah, fantastic. So my parents met in hair school in the 50s. I came from sort of a family that it got started that way. As a kid, I braided my first head of hair at 13 years old, and that was it for me. I knew I was hooked. My older brothers and sisters had gone into the industry as well, and so I guess I sort of was bred to do this. But that doesn't mean that it was that I didn't have to do everything that everybody else has to do to be successful. So. I think back to in the early 90s, my first few years in the industry, loving the technical side of it, not necessarily grasping the clientele development side of it yet. It just as luck would have it, business education, growing your business behind the chair was kind of becoming in vogue in the late 80s, early 90s, excuse me, and really took off then. And as a young stylist, I, foolishly opened a salon that I had no idea how to run. After a few years of realizing that was the truth, I had to learn to marry the business side of hairdressing with the education or with the artistic side of hairdressing. Mm-hmm. And I found that when you marry those things together, they complement one another beautifully. And then you can have a growing business throughout your entire career, because we all know it's ebbs and flows behind the chair. And so in 2013, I sold my salon in Tampa, Florida. I got into education full time. You mentioned session stylist. I tried that for a little while and really didn't. I was kind of bored because I wanted to be around people, and I found that being all day on a photo set was fine, but I wanted to be around more people that were hairstylists, and so I really took the education of hairstylist route very seriously. And as you know, you were my boss at Kuhn, and I helped manage another education team for a little while. And now I work inside of one of Kuhn's largest accounts in North America. We have 6 salons. I'm standing above one of them right now. So below me is probably 32 hairstylists right now. Having a cranking day. If you were to walk through our salon, you would see Kuhn banners flying everywhere, and full shelves from Kuhn. And I guess what I would say is, and I'm watching one of your educators walk by actually the window right now as we speak, Emma. But I just want to say that as a young hairstylist, my brother had found Kuhn when I was 19 years old. He was working in Europe, and we used to bootleg it into the country before you guys shipped to North America. So lots of history with your brand, lots of history as a hairstylist. And now my main role is to work with our team. So we have about 150 hairstylists. We've all been through a curveball in the past 6, 7, 8 months. So 0 people, when I'm giving talks right now, one of the things I like to say is, I think 0 of us are an expert on what's happening. I don't want to come across as one. What I want to say is every day we're making adjustments in the salon with our team, with ourselves that are working. And really, after being back in business for the past few months with 150 hairstylists, we just all agreed today, like, our leadership team, that we feel like hairstylists are finding their groove again. And we feel like even though we've been given a curveball, that there's opportunity. We're feeling the opportunity for real. We're seeing it. We're seeing the camaraderie come back. We're seeing the love for the craft come back, even through all the challenges. So that's a little kind of snapshot on me and kind of what I want to jump into. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And when we had our conversation, it's like, this was a perfect time for us to be able to get together to do this. The holiday season typically for salon and stylist is like, we're like, wow, it's like, hold down the fort. It's about to go off, and it's going to be crazy. And I believe that moving into this holiday season, it's going to be something we're not accustomed to in our industry. So, what are some things that you guys are doing differently within the 124 network to really embrace that, but also try to, sacrifice some, financial stability?
Yeah, it's a great question, and so thank you for that. And I want to say that whether you're as big of an organization as I happen to work in, or if you're an independent stylist and you're watching and listening, foundational stuff is the stuff that we got very focused on. So if you don't mind me sort of taking a little bit of a detour for a second to set context for how I want to answer this. If you're as old as I am, then you remember something like this before. So in 2001, the world stopped for a brief moment, and there was a lot of uncertainty. And in that moment, it looked as if, depending where you lived in the world, it looked as if things were about to change majorly, and they did. And that sent us into a really kind of an insecure, scary time, and business dived some for a while, but it came back. And then in 2008, we had the financial crisis that was global, right? So just like Corona, which has sort of been affecting the world right now, in 2008, we were all in it together too. And the world as a globe went down. And, and behind the chair, I was behind the chair at that time, daily. And I remember my business going from 13,000-ish a month as a hairstylist in American dollars down to about 8, 9 some months, like a significant drop, especially when you're used to a certain lifestyle, right? To have that kind of a drop for a hairstylist is a really big deal. And we survived it and came out really well. In February, if we would have been having this talk, people were doing pretty well. Everything was pretty hunky-dory. And so now here we are, 6 months into another global pandemic. This time it happened to be a health crisis. And I think we're starting to see that we're going to pass through this okay. Now, not every salon will survive. We already know that. In America, there's a relatively high percentage that close. But as a hairstylist and a salon owner, if you can hang on through these times, if you're interested to and you want to, then what's going to happen is, and you talked about the holiday season, I think we got 2 holiday seasons this year. For those of us that reopened, I think you had the rush of your clients that didn't come and see you for a little while, and they had that first blitz, and many people experienced a big curve up. What I want to say about that is that was accidental. That wasn't planned. That wasn't your doing. So don't take that for granted. Don't get too excited about it. The second holiday season is now the one that comes every year, right? And we need to be really mindful about the fact that the clients' minds have been altered some from earlier in the year until now. And whether they agree with what's happening, whether they feel fear by what's happening, whether they disassociate from what's happening, it's still happening. And we have an opportunity to reconnect with them in a different way. There are a few challenges that we have to overcome to get there. We have a new style of communication, which I know we'll get to during this questioning. And so one of the first things we did to answer your question directly was, number one, we got real prepared to be whatever the cleanest of the clean was. We wanted to get that out of the way. So when a client came in that was either in an age range where they were high risk, that lived with family that were high risk, we wanted 0 people to feel uncomfortable being inside of our place, and we wanted to be very visible about that. Actually, these Hume banners that are hanging behind me are helping us by putting up partitions in the salon. We've separated every chair. We did all of the things. We just went overboard because we wanted to make sure when somebody came in, they could breathe easy, right? They felt good. I guess that's a pun because they're wearing masks, but breathe as well as you can with a mask on. Then the second thing that we did was we got very serious about our people and stylists. So if you're a salon owner of a larger organization or you have people that you work with, we got really interested in them. We spent more time on people than we did on profit this year. We knew we needed to balance the books. And if you're an independent stylist, we got real interested in our clients, right? If you work alone. So we got interested in people because we know right now is a chance for us to reaffirm our loyalty to them, that, not only that we know they have choices, but we want to be their hairstylists. We want them to feel great with us. We want them to feel valued by us, and we want them to feel safe with us. So those are the people part of what we did first.
Yeah, and we talk about retention, as we said earlier. There's so many dynamics that feed retention, right? One of those being how do we get the clients coming back? As you talked about, that schedule is different. Before they were coming some every 3 weeks, some every 4 to 6. What does that span look like on an average now? And how do we get them to come back? Because you talked about making them comfortable, and it goes then again to that new style of communication. And I would love for you to share what you shared with me yesterday that will tie into making them feel comfortable. It was a great analogy, a great conversation that we had.
It was, and you're in luck. I had the same amount of coffee today as I had yesterday, so I'm fully prepared to re-embark on that. So I'm very juiced up about that conversation. But what I didn't know yesterday was I just came out of a leadership meeting here. So we have a team of about 9 people. We get together on a regular basis, and we talk about these very things all the time. And Brian, who is my boss and has grown this company, for 30 years, talked about an activity that he's doing with our level 1 stylists, where he's personally coaching them right now on rebooking as their number one thing. So if you've been around the block for a minute and you've been a hairstylist for a minute, you've heard the words retention. You know what that means. You've heard the words repeat client or return client. You've heard the words rebooking, or as I like to call it, reservations, setting up their next reservation before they leave. Because you might retain people without rebooking them, but you'll have to have more clients to do it. They'll never come back as soon as if you get that appointment on the book before they go. And so one of the things, just through conversation, I wrote this down. One of our level 1 stylists, a younger stylist who's just building confidence, went from 37% of her clients rebooked or reservations made before they left to 67% just by focusing attention on it in a short period of time. This week, she's close to 100% rebooks, which will affect, think about this, will affect her next month's book, right? So in the moment, it doesn't maybe feel, I don't get any money for it, right? There's no exchange. But when I look at next month, I'm securing next month. So the number one conversation that I have with a new person, and if you're a newish stylist, first 5 years, 10 years now, I'm starting to consider you new because I've been around for 30, that if you can learn how to get people to come back and get them to come back sooner, then you will never really have to worry about clientele development. You'll know that the majority of the people that sit in your chair will come back and see you. Now, when I can learn to get them to come back with their appointment set, meaning 67, 70, 80% of people set their appointment before they leave, now I have a secure future, and there's a lot more tweaks I can make to my business down the line, such as price adjustments when necessary. I'm not going to deep dive on that, but the pre-book controls a lot of decisions, a lot of business decisions that you can make. Price adjustments, hours, working hours. Do I work evenings and Saturdays? Well, I don't have to when I'm 90% booked with repeat clients and they're booking. I get to choose my hours differently. So there are a lot of kind of things that are a little bit intangible that come along with that. The most tangible thing is you make more money when you pre-book your clients. And there's a real kind of an easy visual to picture that. An average busy hairstylist in the world can see about 25 people in a week. Now, some see more, some see less. But when you let people decide when they come back, they could go 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. So if I have 25 people I have to fill every week, and my clients are going 10 weeks, 25 or 9 weeks or 8 weeks, 25 clients times 8, then that's 200 clients I have to fill. But when I get them to come back sooner, I hope this is translating if you're in other countries and this is kind of landing for you and making sense. If I have that same stylist that's pretty full with 25 clients in a week, and I can get them to come back a little sooner, then I need less people. So let's say I can get them, my average client comes back on a 6-week rotation, 25 clients. I have 6 weeks to fill because they come back every 6 weeks. Now I only need 150 clients to have the same security, make the same money, and fill the same productivity bubble, that window of time that we're always trying to fill. So retention right now, that's the numbers side of it. From a philosophical perspective and a business on paper metrics perspective, is always important. But right now, the difference is we have a different opportunity with it because people's ears are open to us because they just had to go for 8, 10, 12 weeks without seeing their hairstylist, and it hurt. And so they're more open to trying new things. Corona gave us a great opportunity to try new things.
Agree. I mean, the thing too is, both of us have coached stylists in our careers, and it's that would tend to be the hardest thing for a stylist to do, which for me was always one of the number one important things, for the fact it secured my income, my future income, right? It let me know where I needed to go. And you make a good point, you know, all of that time during shutdown where the clients couldn't come in and see people, and then they panicked because then there weren't enough spots.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, capacity being limited, that type of thing. It's now more than ever, I would think that stylists, that should be a number one thing they're focusing on. That's why your young one is seeing such great results.
Oh yeah, and she's not the only one. And I have another quick story that's interesting. It's with my brother and his barbershop. For years, we would talk about, for those of you 1922 users, and you know, in the men's world, for years my brother never would do online booking because he has a very busy barbershop in Philadelphia. You could walk in there at any point in time. There's 10 people sitting, you know, angrily waiting for their haircut, you know, for Joe or for Kyle or for Mark. And he switched to online booking, and it's freed him up. It's changed his total experience. And again, these are inner city guys that would never have done that. He would have never been able to get these guys to switch, but it gave him an opportunity to try something different. So one last thing I'll say on the rebooking piece, if you've been thinking about trying to so maybe you've been booking, I already pre-booked my clients, try a year out. People will right now switch to a year. I've seen people right downstairs are doing it. They're, for the first time ever, they've got enough courage to say to their client, I want to make sure you get the time that you like. Let's go ahead and get your next 6 appointments set up. And then boom, they do it right there. Let's get your next 8 appointments set up. So take this time really serious. If you're looking to try something new, or you are looking to reinvent your business, right now is the time to do it.
Yeah. So do you find that you're having to do any type of incentives for the clients to rebook?
We have to say it. You know, we are not running incentives around rebooking. What we're trying to do is to listen. If you've been around, you've been doing hair for a long time, right? You don't even want to hear any of what I'm saying right now, because it's so basic and foundational that you're like, I know he's going to talk about, don't let him mention referrals next, right? Don't let him mention that.
We are talking about referrals.
Exactly. But the reality is none of you are asking for referrals. 0 of you. Don't say you are, because you're not. None of you are asking for referrals, especially right now because you're wearing a face mask. I might have mine in my pocket. Nope, I don't have one with me. I thought I had one with me. I'll put it on. No, and a lot of us aren't looking people in the eye, right? So we're not having the conversations as well right now overall. Now I know some of you are asking for referrals. I know I'll let you off the hook like once this year, but the reality is if you have to over communicate right now. We talked about that yesterday, and here's the deal. We're set up differently right now. And I don't want to keep talking. Like, I hate that we have to have this conversation, but we're going to be having this conversation for a long time. I remember in 2013, I was in a room full of really good hairdressers, and somebody said they were already sick of doing balayage. And somebody else said, you got a long way to go. And here we are in 2020, and we're still doing balayage, right? It's going to be around for a long time. Well, right now, the changes that have been made are psychologically impressionable. These, you know, we've had a lot on our podcast, which is also called Shop Talk, by the way. Shop Talk by 124 Go. Look it up. We're on all podcast platforms. We interview everybody. We love our CUNYs on there, but we interview everybody. And we've interviewed a lot of people outside of the industry that are psychology minded. And all of them have said the people's view of the world has changed. And so now we do this. We're in the salon, and I can't just smile halfway through a haircut while I'm cutting somebody's hair and, you know, smile, and they see it and they know that I'm liking the way their hair's looking and they're liking the way their hair's looking. I can't, some of those things have been taken away. So what we're adding into all of these factors, retention, retail selling, if you want to call it that, or home hair care, we now know we have to be more verbal with all of our things. So if you feel like you need to run a promotion right now, fine. A promotion is a measured thing that you run for a period of time that all your clients know that it ends. So that's fine if you do it in those rules. I don't think you have to, if you have your finger on the pulse of your clientele and you're really knowing, like downstairs, none of the amazing, fantastic women that are working downstairs have to run a promotion to get anything to happen, because they can spend a moment with their guests and let them know that I really want you to get the times that you need, and just in that authentic conversation, they handle that. But if you decide that you want to change it up and run a promotion, make sure it's visible, make sure it's timed, make sure everybody knows when it starts and ends and why we're doing it. And then make sure it ends when it ends, that it's that if the client misses out, that they know next time to take it seriously.
Yeah, I love that, because it doesn't always have to be that. I think more than ever in the past. Yeah. Because you and I are both old, so I'll put myself in the same category as you.
Yeah, and those people that don't know you, Jess, and you're the VP of education, but you spent a lot of time in the trenches. I mean, you were on the road forever. You were in thousands of salons. I met you as a really young educator. You gave me one of my first jobs in Cleveland, Ohio. I'll never forget that. So you know better, or as well as, it's been a long time. You know that, as well as anybody.
Yeah, I mean, practice makes perfect. I mean, and I always believe if you're not doing best practices, from a retention standpoint, to rebooking, to what we're going to go talk about next, getting referrals, we're constantly going to have to get new clientele. Yeah. If you're not comfortable doing that, take a bite at a time. Perfect it, add another bite. Perfect it, add a third bite. And don't forget the fourth one, retailing. That has been, such a struggle in our industry overall for years, since we were young stylists, and that importance of doing that as well, even more so now, to offset any income that you guys are losing out there from not being able to be double booked or double capacity. So again, my advice would be, take a nugget, create a level of ownership for it before you add another one.
Yeah, you're right about that. And I just, if I didn't say it in the beginning, I want to super honor some of you just got open. If I think about two industries that got really affected, the hardest. Now, many industries did, but the restaurant industry, which is a service industry, and then hairstylists. And if you were one of those hairstylists that wasn't great at paperwork, or had a bigger sum that you were used to earning than what got handled or taken care of, I mean, this could have been a very, very, very rough time. So I want to honor that, and also to say that when we came back, we were also I think we were 50% capacity, and we were unable to double book. Those are very real challenges, which is why I'm upping the ante on making sure your guest feels super taken care of, because they have choices right now. And there's still some fear. And while I don't feel fearful, I just was talking with somebody in a salon from somewhere this morning. I can't remember who I was on with. And they had talked about many of their clients still have not been back for their first visit yet, which is a surprise to us here in Georgia. We were very lucky. We opened up in April. It was very lucky. But now coming down the line 6 months, I want to say that it will return to feeling normal. Our people feel normal right now. They feel good.
A little bit about that people now. I mean, whatever. What's some approach to building that new clientele?
Yeah, new clientele. Thank you. You went in and out for a second, but I think I got the gist of your question, which is about number one, gaining new people, and number two, referrals. And type into the chat if I'm off, because you're locking up just a little bit. Yeah, but if you can hear me, I'm gonna talk.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I've said this, and I'm always very vocal on this topic. And the reason why I'm very vocal on this topic is because referrals are one of those things that veteran stylists stop asking for. At some point, I get busy enough that I feel comfortable and I don't have to ask for referrals anymore. And if you're one of those people, you are, right? We all know. And it's almost embarrassing to, oh my God, I have to ask for referrals again. It can almost feel embarrassing. But what I want to say is there's a new type of conversation that I'm having to ask people for that. And it's just simply this. There are a lot of people that haven't come back to a salon yet. And I'm saying to people, and I'm telling people to say, I love your hair. It was great to see you today, the whole bit, while we still have the person in the chair. But I want to say to them, if there's ever a time when somebody that hasn't been come back to the salon yet, and it's because they're afraid, if you felt comfortable here today, please let your friends know that I'll take just as good a care of them. Our loyalty program is still ongoing, and it gives me an opportunity to re-bring it up. It's mostly about re-engaging your mouth. It's mostly about adding into the conversation that we have a loyalty program. I haven't told you about it for years. It's not just, hey, send your friends. It's we're doing business very purposefully now. Our goal is to take care of people and to make them look and feel beautiful. And if you have any friends that either haven't come back to the salon or maybe were unhappy with their hairstylist right now, I would love to meet them. Now, we are not handing cards out at the moment just because of the touch to touch, but we make it very easy for them to do that through tracking in our computer. So if you have the ability to track it, or if you're independent, it should be pretty easy to track. But let them know that I'm caring about people at a greater level than I ever did before. And if you have somebody that hasn't felt comfortable, now's the time. And people notice. I now notice that when I open the drawer at the salon, I now notice where people's eyes go. They look right down into that drawer. Is it hairy? Does it look clean? Does it look like they're keeping up with the standards that they've talked about? The second part of that is new client acquisition outside of your referral program. And so I want to talk at two levels just for a second, because I know some of you live in worlds like I live, where you have a marketing department or you have somebody that handles that for you. We've gone on the offense in some of our locations, depending on if we're filling space right now. So many of you had people leave and not come back from Corona. We had that happen, by the way. We have about 150 stylists on any given day. We had about 10 people leave through different reasons. Some went and opened a salon. Some decided they wanted to go work on their own. Some just didn't. They weren't coming back to work. They spent some time at home. They decided they wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, or maybe have another child, and that's the direction they went. And it put us in offense mode to do two things. One is recruit, and then the other was to elevate our new client count. So we've done both actually really fast, and we're thrilled about it. But Amber Burns, who runs our marketing department, has gone on offense, and she uses Facebook ads and on two offenses. One is on stylist recruitment. or just letting people know that we're a good, safe home. If you were an independent stylist and you did struggle during Corona downtime, I mean, we were lucky. All of our people got paid the entire time. I worked through the entire time. It was a very, very lucky situation. We feel super blessed about that. But if you didn't, you might be looking for a new home. And so we think that if you're a salon and you're interested in finding people, now's a great time to recruit. And we also think that right now is a great time for new client acquisition, which is the corporate way of saying to find new clients, right? Facebook ads, you can target them, shoot a little video of your a stylist in your salon, somebody that likes to talk on video, and put a little link, to the salon. And I still think it's valuable to advertise your cleaning protocols for a little while longer. Maybe the next 6 or 8 months. And the reason why I think that's so important is because of what I said. I'm sick of talking about, Corona, but it doesn't mean clients are sick of feeling safe. So advertise, this is going to sound silly, but sometimes when I'm on the road, I if I'm road tripping from here to Florida or somewhere, and I drive by a gas station, it says cleanest bathrooms in South Carolina, I'm pulling in, right? It sounds silly, but and that maybe that's a horrible.
That's kind of a horrible example.
The reality is, people are very aware of cleanliness right now, and so I think you should be advertising your cleaning protocols still, and I think they should be very visible. So that's from a higher level marketing end. From a grassroots end, we obviously have social media as a tool still. It's a little cloudy right now on social. So I want to encourage people to stick with their message of hair. I've seen people really be very successful if you're trying to grow your business. If you're not trying to grow your business, then talk about politics. But stick with your message of hair. Stick with your branding, stay to it, and that will penetrate. People will see that because, great hair it doesn't go out of style. It's really, this has taught me just how valuable you are as a hairstylist. Like I'm a hairstylist and I sometimes question my value. Am I really, the service that I'm doing, is it really helping this person to feel better about themselves? Is it really enhancing the value of them as a person? And I can now say, after being shut down, undoubtedly 100,000% yes. You might be the only conversation face-to-face that person has this month. Many people are doing business on Zoom, just like we're doing right now, or on a Facebook or whatever it is. Many people. I talk to many clients in the salon nowadays. I'm the first time they've been out of the house all week. So please don't take that for granted. Don't take yourself for granted. You might be the most valuable hour and a half, 2 hours that guest has all week. And so whatever your new client acquisition strategy is, whatever your strategy to get new guests is, say it loud and proud. Talk to everybody about it, like we used to do, in the old days. And I'm not even saying that tongue in cheek. Get used to talking about it, and then let your social media show the same thing. If I looked at your social media, it should say to me, I want to do your hair, like Jessica Bartolucci in the Kuhn Network, like Amber Screepa, like some like Alicia Dixon, like, some of the people in the Kuhn Network are doing such a great job showing clients that they're still really serious about hair. And I think you should be doing the same thing.
Yeah, that is your advertisement. I mean, think about if times are hard or whatever, and if you did have a marketing, in-house marketing ability, and now you don't, this is your free platform. And if you have not had a personal and a professional, you might want to think about that too. Think about separating the two. Clients love to see our dogs and our whatever, but you do need a platform If you want to talk about politics and you want to do those things, that could be somewhere else.
Absolutely. And here's a super reality. And this just is what it is. Because a lot of our veteran stylists here really this year just got better at taking pictures of hair. Heck, I'm still out of the group that I work with, it's a pretty high level peer group. So I'm like the worst of them all as far as picture taking skills, right? But I do the best, that I can do. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a social media influencer. That's not going to be my shtick, right? You don't have to do it either. But what I've noticed is even our veteran stylists have finally realized that when Jessica, if I do your hair and you tell your friend Amber about me as your hairstylist, the first thing she's going to do is look at my social media. Mm-hmm. So, in knowing that, and I do know that's absolutely true, the first place she's going to go. So you don't have to be savvy. You don't have to master hashtags. You just need to post pictures of the type of hair that you do. Mm-hmm. So a client lands on your page, Jessica refers them, or when you go to show, Jessica, I have a few ideas for your hair, I pull up my social media page. I don't pull up somebody else's. Mm-hmm. I pull up mine and I say, this is Erin, and I did her hair last week, and we, this was the balayage technique we used. This is, Danya, and I, here's her hair is similar to yours in its fineness and texture. So you don't have to be social savvy. You don't have to have 10,000 followers or even 1,000 followers to gain lots of referrals. Most of the ladies that are doing fantastic with their social, Kristen Briley, I think, has, 300 followers, 400 followers on her hair page. She gets, I don't want to name the number for her, she gets ridiculous amounts of new clients from her Instagram. They probably never hit like on her page. All they've done is seen her page. Mm-hmm. They call to make an appointment and they say, I saw Kristen on Instagram. I want to make an appointment with her.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you tracking that in the salon?
The best we can. So we do have a social media, like did you get referred to us by? Unfortunately, we take about 15,000 clients a month in all 6 locations, and, mm-hmm. and we need to do a better
skewed job. A little bit.
We need to do a better job at that. Yeah.
So let's jump into a little bit because we only have 10 more minutes. Can you believe it?
Yeah. And today we talked a little bit about service wheel. So I'm curious about where you headed.
Yeah, that's where I was headed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a question for you then. How about that?
Okay.
Because you talked yesterday about how does it kind of happen at your chair? Like what are specific things that you're doing? Mm-hmm. And again, I said that if you would have asked me in February, what types of classes our people wanted, they wanted social media classes and they wanted balayage classes. That's what they wanted. Now, people are much more open to foundations. And I think you should get very interested in foundations. If you've never tracked any numbers or certain numbers, I think you should start to at least count how many people you see in a month, how many of those were referred, how many of those have you seen before, separate from your new clients, and how many of those people rebooked their next appointment, how many of them bought a product from you or what that dollar amount is, how many of them took you up on an extra service. And so those are the things that I think you should be counting. That's a measurement of, it's a snapshot of what you've been doing. You're counting past tense. If I were to set goals for somebody, I would say 50% of your new clients, you want to come back, and 80% of your clientele overall, you want to be repeats, returns. Mm-hmm. 10 to 15% you want to be referrals. And then we have some variables in between, a wedding party, somebody comes in town who I'm never going to see again. 60 to 70% of your people should be rebooked. 70 to 80 is considered perfect. because we have some transients and we have some people that just aren't able to know their schedule. That all happens through conversations inside of the appointment. And I don't know about your training of when you got taught to pack all that in, but I got taught as a young stylist, I had to check all these boxes off in the consultation. And it was like, it was a lot. And I remember missing stuff, and I remember my consults being long. And you know, I've kind of, through working with mentors through the years, I mean, I traveled with some of the best, business hair educators in the world for a long time. And that helped mold, how I like to see the appointment cycle. And so here's what I would say. Whenever an appointment happens, you always have a point in time where you greet that person. There's always this time where there's a consultation that happens. Most of the time you're going to be shampooing the person. You have a window of time that's pretty large when you're actually doing the thing, you're doing the service. You have your styling out time, you have your checkout time, your close time, and then you have what happens in between. Do I keep up on this person? Do I follow through? Do I follow up? Now more than ever, the greeting to me has become a new heightened awareness on building that rapport, right? So I'm asking new questions right now, like, how are you? And legitimately meaning it, not just how you been, but like, how are you? Are you okay? Remember, people have lost jobs. Some people are sick. I did have a client that told me that they lost a loved one. And, that was the closest it got to me, because I hadn't had that experience yet. And they told me that. I was like, oh my God, wow, how are you? And, I that's happening, that happens. And so in that greeting, it's happening outside a lot of times. People are outside taking temperature check. What I've been doing is I've been pulling the mask off while they're, 15, 20 yards away walking up, and I'm smiling and I'm saying, I just wanted you to see that I am so happy to see you. I'm so happy you're here. And if I just met the person for the first time, I wanted you to see my face. It's nice to meet you, Julie. I'm going to mask up and we're going to do some things. And, and it gives me a minute to, break the ice a little bit. Connect. Then we can, now that we've connected, and I do, the regular things that happen inside the salon, the smock, the this, when we get to the consultation, I think it's really important to ask people now, can we act like this is a first-time consult? Because again, people are into trying new things right now. You've seen it everywhere. I mean, I don't have to tell people that. I'm watching Instagram, so but a question that I asked everybody is, since it's been a while, can I treat this like like we haven't I've never done your hair? Let me ask you a few good questions. And the answer is yes. They want to have a good conversation about their hair. They might be up for change. So that's the time where I'm focusing on what we're doing today. And then I want to ask them, how's their hair feeling and what styling challenges they've been having with it. And that's when I take a note, either a mental note or a physical note, if you're a physical note taker. And as they're sharing with me, my hair has felt like this, my hair's feel dry, my color loses its tonality, plug, Q&U. We have this great new product that can take care of tonality right behind Jessica. It looks like you use Q&U on your lips, Jess. They are vibrant today.
So like mini stop sign.
Red, absolutely. But, like we have, I take a mental note, but I don't try to sell anybody anything in the consultation unless they ask and they say, do you, can you get me the shampoo that if it's a home run, that's one thing, but I just take a note. Her hair's been feeling dry. Her color's been fading. And then later on, as we're walking to the shampoo bowl, I ask them to feel their hair. I literally say, Jessica, I want you to feel your ends. You told me your hair felt dry. Feel it now. I just want you to feel it after we do what we're about to do at the shampoo bowl. So after I blow your hair out later on, I'm going to cue you up again. I'm going to say, Jess, feel your hair now. And that re-brings up the conversation of, oh, wow, my hair felt really dry and wiry on the way to the bowl. And now it feels like smooth as silk. What did you use? And so that's when I can say that's the vital nutrition treatment that we did, or that's the two-phase spray that's, helping get those tangles out, or that fullness, that's that soft mousse. So I add that in later, but I have them feel it first, and then I wait. We get into the serve, and in the shampooing, because our face is covered, we talked yesterday about losing our sense of smell. A lot of people aren't smelling the hair care now that they used to did the job for us before. We would start to suds up their hair and they'd say, oh my God, how great does that smell? Now we have to tell them. We have to tell them everything. We have to tell them we're happy to see them. We have to tell them we're smiling. We have to learn to smile with our eyes and make eye contact. We have to use our words throughout the entire appointment to point them in the direction that we want them to pay attention to. I love the way this smells. You're going to love it too, right?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they don't know.
So I don't want to interrupt, but let me ask this question, because after you shared that with me yesterday, I was like, God, that is so important, because we rely on, oh, here's this bottle of water and it smells like this and this is what it does, right? And that's normally the trigger for a client to buy a product. Yeah. What if during the process time, let's say they're in the chair and they're processing, you went and grabbed those products, sat them there and said, you know what, while I'm away right now, feel free to take off your mask if that's okay in your environment, and experience the product, because we're going to talk about it through the rest of your service. Yeah. I love that. And I also love that you used that window of time when they're processing to do something really important, which you're not going to have time to do later. It's going to feel rushed and it feels like a sales pitch. The other two items that you can check off the box while they're sitting and waiting are your loyalty program and you're looking at your next appointment dates. Like, why are we waiting until the end to have our person at the front do all this stuff, or to do all these things when our next client's waiting, when while they're processing, I can have meaningful conversations around these three things. Here's what I wanted to show you what we were just talking about, and I love what you said, experience it. If you have the time and space, if there's a place where you can do that inside of your environment, you know better than we do, right? Do that, and do it while the person's relaxed and sitting. Then during you start to cut their hair again, or you're starting to finish, you can have a little more social conversation, and then get back to educating them on the finishing products. But that service time, whether it's processing time or whether you're actually physically doing the service, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's the time to have those little soundbite conversations. So we have a question. What loyalty program do you recommend? Yeah. One that works. So when I say a loyalty, right, I know that was awful. That was the worst answer of all time of any speaker anywhere, right? Yeah. So here's what I would say. Number one, I have a follow-up question for that. So if you're still listening and you can respond, what size salon are you in? Just so I know. And when I talk about a loyalty program, specifically, I mean referrals. Some people use their loyalty program and they reward their referrals with either product or dollar amount on services. If you know your numbers and you know what it costs to get you a new client through a word of mouth, it costs way less than it does advertising. So if you can do it to where it makes sense for you to reward people with a physical product, I love that. I also love an actual dollar amount, and I know this person would get $20 off if they sent me a client. If that doesn't work with your pricing, maybe your pricing's a little lower, $15 off, whatever it is. If Jessica sends me a client and I retain 50% of my clients, if she sends me 10 new clients, I keep 5, right? So 10 times. So 10 new clients, I keep 5.
if my average client spends $600 a year, 600 times 5 is, let me get my calculator out.
While you're doing that, I know that it's 2 o'clock, but we did start 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
So if everyone will stay on just a little bit longer with us, we're going to take our full hour. If that's all right.
Well, cool. So if $600 dollars is, hold on, 10 times, if $600 is what an average client spends, and I get 10 new clients, and I keep 5, that's $3,000 extra dollars that I would earn that year. So if I see the value in trading a $20 gift card for a client that's going to spend $600 with me that year, I think it's a good trade. If I see the value in giving the client a full-size bottle of shampoo that I spent $10 buying, and they're going to send me a client that potentially could spend $600, I see that as a good trade. So I want it to be on whatever your loyalty program is. Everybody in the salon needs to know what it is. The client, you need to be able to tell them what it is. Jessica, I want to explain our loyalty program to you. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So just so you know, I don't even know if I ever talked to you about this before, so I apologize. But because I might have shorted you some money that you could have been saving on your hair. So whenever you send me a client, you get $20 off of your next visit, and I also give them $20 off your next visit. So it potentially costs me $40, but if you're in a commission salon, it really only costs you $20. It costs you the commission. But for $40, Jessica just sent me a client that potentially is going to spend $600 a year with me, or $1,200, depending on your pricing, right? I mean, my clients spend a lot more than $600 in a year for me, but it just depends on pricing. I'm just an average numbers here, right?
Right. And Chris, is that still I know when we used to do some coaching and stuff, we coached, it was around $84 to advertise per new guest.
Yeah, so new client acquisition is still high. We spend a lot of money in our Facebook ads. We spend a lot of money in our print. We spend a lot of money in our collateral materials that are throughout the salon. So the answer is yes. People are still, you don't even know the money that you're spending to get a new client a lot of times. And time, the time it takes. My best, we say this, and Amber Burns, who's our marketing director, she hates that this is true because she wishes it was as easy as running Facebook ads. But she tells all of our stylists all the time, your number one marketing is word of mouth. That's this day and age. She's a millennial. You know what I mean? She's a millennial. She is super smart. She understands technology as good as anybody. Your number one advertising is word of mouth. I hope I answered that question well on loyalty program.
I think so. Yeah, she's interested in knowing more. So I just threw in the website for 124.
Oh yeah, check out Salon 124. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're right. I'm listening to the process, and it takes me back to the day of being behind the chair, right? And it's about purposeful conversation that's relevant to the action that you're doing. So it's not, relevant to start asking them to pre-book right when they walked in the door, 100%. Or it's creating relevancy or a system and structure. And again, I go back to when you eat off bites of things and you have ownership, that becomes a way of life for you. I still structure my life that way in many different ways. So yeah, it's good. Chris, tell people, and I know we have so much more, and I hope maybe we can do this again.
I would love to do this again.
Yeah, let us know.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm used to being in front of people or even on Zoom where I can see your faces. I wish I could, because anybody that spent time, I hope that you got value out of it. That's the goal.
Yeah. So throw us in the comments if you would like Chris and I to get together and do this again, and maybe what other topics you'd like to hear. But Chris, for anybody who might want to get involved with the 24 group.
Yep.
How would they do that?
Yep. So we do salon consulting. Obviously through Kuhn, you can also request me to do a private session for your group as well. I know my partner will be doing a Facebook Live with you in November, but you can email me directly or us directly at info@124go.com, and we'll coach anywhere from a high-level salon or that's needing to manage their finances or need to look at their budget or maybe trying to figure out how to get through this time, as well as stylist coaching. So, that would be more on my end. John Palmieri does a lot of our higher level salon coaching. I do a lot of the stylist coaching. And if you want to get to know us a little bit better and you're just looking for some free education, you can check out our podcast. And so our podcast is also called Shop Talk. And if you type in or you just Google 124Go podcast, that's 124Go podcast, we'll pop right up. You'll see the icon. We have about 100 and I don't know how many episodes we have out now, actually, probably like 150 episodes out so far. We've had very meaningful conversations. It's all high level education, high level people. I know we've got some Kuhn folks coming up again soon, but free education that you can go to, get to know us. And we're always talking about how to get a hold of us. So that's a place where you could connect. And if you enjoyed listening to me rant at all, I do plenty of ranting on the podcast.
Well, and I hope to have you back on, Chris. John's November thing isn't alive, but
sorry about
maybe
that.
maybe we can get John. No, it's okay. Maybe we can get John involved.
Love to do this one. Yeah.
So yeah, our time is up, friend, and I'm again very, very grateful to spend the last hour with you. Great information. It's always amazing to reconnect and kind of get all of your information out of you and out into the world. So
yeah, I love spending time with you too, Jessica.
Well, I hope I'm appreciative of all of our viewers today. Looking forward to another great Monday coming up. We'll have another live for you guys, and keep sending us your comments. What you want to see, what you want to learn. We are definitely. I'm listening, and I'm hoping I'm executing correctly. So I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day, evening. I know we have a lot of night timers here, and please stay safe, healthy, and happy out there.
Thanks, everybody.